Hi everyone, it's Kerry. I've noticed recently, particularly on Facebook, a lot of people saying things like I've lost my mojo, or I'd really like to make a journal but I don't know where to start, or even people that are just beginning on their journal journey or junk journal journey and they're not sure, how to do some of the things to begin and how to start the process, because a whole journal with all of the ephemera and everything inside it is actually a big project, and to look at it as one thing can be very overwhelming. So I'm hoping with today's tutorial, which will actually be the first of a small series, this will help you get your mojo back, or if you're just beginning, maybe give you somewhere to start. And it also has the added bonus of helping you build your stash, so when you do come to embellish your journals, you've got a nice collection of things ready to go. So we're going to begin this project with some really basic supplies. So you'll need one stamp, like a background stamp. So I'll be using a script stamp. This actually has two different types of text on it. And you'll also need one stencil. I'll be using this number stencil, and then just two different types of paper. So I've got book page and I've got this craft coloured music paper. Now if you don't have craft coloured music paper, you might want to use just some plain tea-dyed paper. You might want to use some scrapbook paper, but just pick one design. Don't pick something that's 10 different colours, just for the purpose of this exercise. It's better to have neutral tones, because when we go on in the next video to embellish our tags, if you've got a neutral base, then it's going to be a lot easier to add your embellishments at that point. So here in front of me, I have a selection of tags that are at different stages in this stash building process. So this one has just got stenciling on it. This one has some collage and some stamping. This one just has some stenciling and some stamping. So today we're going to look at doing those three basic things. So some stenciling, some stamping, and some collaging. So I've got a few different types of tags here. This is just a plain white chipboard tag that hasn't been altered in any way. This one is just like a manila tag, and then I've got some other tags here which have already been tea-dyed. This is the white chipboard that's been tea-dyed, but just use whatever you've got. If you've only got copy paper, just use copy paper. If you want it to be a bit thicker, just glue two pieces together before you cut it out. If you don't want to make it a tag, just cut it into a square or a rectangle. So we'll start with basic stamping first. So I've just got my script stamp here, and I've got some Distress Oxide ink in walnut stain. Now I've written on the back of my stamp top so that when I stamp it, I know my writing is going to be up the right way. I don't mount my stamp on a acrylic block because I don't want the stamp to be perfect when I press it down. I want it to be a little bit distorted and grungy. If I have it on a acrylic block, I'll just show you. So if you're stamping on an acrylic block and you ink up your stamp, and then if you stamp that onto your tag, you're going to get a very perfect image of where all the script is, and then there's a straight line across here and a straight line down here. I mean, it's not perfectly straight because of the design of the stamp, but it is very square looking, and for the purpose of background stamping, I don't want to have it looking perfect. I'd rather have it looking a bit grungy. So I take my stamp and I just hold it in my hand almost in a curved fashion, and I just pat a little bit of ink on it. I don't care if it's the same spot, if it's in a different place. And when I stamp on my tag, I stamp very randomly with the pressure. So I'm pressing down with these two fingers and these two fingers to get an odd impression, not a very imperfect impression. And stamp again. So I've just got some random stamping going on in the background there. Okay, so once you get into the rhythm of doing it. It's really quick. It's just stamping, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't matter if it's not straight, because this is background. Most of this is going to get covered up. It's just breaking the tag and giving us a starting point. Okay, so very basic stamping there. With stenciling, it's a similar thing. So I've just got 3 different tags here, and I just grab my stencil, and today I'm using this number stencil, and I'm just going to I'm actually going to use a makeup brush. Now I think I got this from like a $2 shop, and I've had it for ages and ages. I haven't been able to find any more, but Mrs. Cog has recently put up a video on some other makeup brushes that she had a link for in her video, so I'll pop a link to her video below, and then you can pop over and have a look at her video. The brushes that she has are a different shape, but they pretty much do the same thing, I'm sure. So again, I'm just getting my Distress ink, and I basically just rub it over as if I was wiping, you know, a cloth over a tabletop or something like that. That just gives me a little bit of graduated stenciling in the background, and because there's no harsh edge, because these are bristles, not like the round blending tool, when I pop it onto the stencil, the bristles give you a really soft edge. You don't have any hard edges where the round blending tool would be. So I don't care if my stenciling is imperfect either, because again, most of this is going to get covered up. It's just a little bit of something going on in the background. Okay, so that's the stenciling. Now if you want to, you can actually add both stamping and stenciling, and it doesn't matter which order you do them in. So I've already got this here, it's been stenciled. I've got a few blank spaces here, so I'll take my stamp and just add a little bit of stamping over the top. You don't have to include both. You can just leave them stenciled or stamped, but if you want to do both, you can. So if I was watching somebody else's video, which I often do, and I find, you know, you watch a video and then you watch somebody else's video, and before you know it, you've watched 2 hours worth of videos and you haven't done any crafting yourself. So this is something that you can be doing really easily while you're watching somebody else's video, to try and get a little bit more inspiration. If you just sit there and stamp, you know, before you know it, you'll have 20 tags all stamped out. If you just sit there and stencil, same thing. Once you've done your stamping and your stenciling, you might choose to add some collage onto the background as well. So when I do my collaging, I like to work either vertically or horizontally. So that's just my preference. You might want to do both. You might want to have it all in different angles, but I prefer to just do it horizontally or vertically. And sometimes I will ink my pieces before I put them on, and sometimes I don't. So going back to the tags that we've just done, if I wanted to add some book page, if I'm working horizontally, I tear the edges. Sorry, if I'm working vertically, I tear the plain edge off my paper here, because I won't use that. And then I'm just going to tear my page down in strips. Different sizes, different widths, really doesn't matter. So once I've got my strips here, I can look at my tag and decide which piece I want. So I might want to put that piece there. I might want something a bit longer that goes all the way to the bottom. And then I just have a piece of scrapbook page to the side, which I use for my gluing. So if you decide you do want to add some ink, just popping a bit of ink along the edge with a sponge or your Distress round blending tool, and then I just use a glue stick onto the back, pop it over the top. Now I like my text to be straight, but that's just a personal preference as well. So then I'll take some, I've got some craft music paper here, and again I'm just going to tear that. So I've got some vertical strips, add a bit of ink, and then I just lay that over the top. Okay, that's all I do. I just add the two pieces and then I trim off the extra bits. Now you can take your blending tool and ink around the edges. And then that one's ready for embellishing at some point further down the track. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't do any more to it. If I'm working horizontally, I'll just do this one. So this one's only got some stenciling on. Now if you've stenciled in an ink that is not waterproof or not permanent, don't apply your glue stick over the top because you could smudge it and then you might not like the way that it looks after that. So always apply your glue stick to the collage paper that you're going to stick onto the tag. So if I'm working horizontally, I take another book page and I want to tear this. I don't want to tear it down because I want my text to be visible going across. So I'll tear some strips, and I usually work in threes or odd numbers. It just tends to work better it's visually more pleasing. So again, you can ink it if you want to or not if you don't. So for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to. So I've just torn. This had a straight edge on the edge of the book page here, which I didn't want to be in the middle of my page. So I've just torn that off, and so I've got, you know, a bit more of an organic look. And then I just pop a little bit of glue. Again, I like my text to be straight, so I just glue it like that. And then I take another piece. And that one can go there. And then one more piece. Okay, so I've got my 3 pieces of text paper on there, and I'll do the same with the other paper that I have. So I'm just going to tear some horizontal strips. That one's got a bit of a straight line on there. Okay, and then once they're glued on, again I go around and trim the edge. So there we go. Take the ink blending tool and just pop a bit of ink around the edge if you want to. So these two are now ready for embellishing, and when you have your journal ready and you decide that you need to embellish your tags, when they've been made in these neutral colours, it's easy to then go ahead and add something else onto the tag to theme it towards the journal that you're working on. So For example, you can see in the background here, so this was just a tea-dyed tag. Here's our collage in the background. A little bit of stamping which you can hardly see now because it's all mostly covered up. And I've just embellished this tag with a little Tim Holtz paper doll, a little bit of cheesecloth, a quote, and then one of these little puffy stickers. Popped some Sari Silk and seam binding in the top of the tag, and that's ready to be popped into a journal. So here's another one ready to go, just with a little chipboard embellishment, a couple of little wooden gears, a number and a little tag, and again that one's ready to be popped into a journal as well now. So you can very quickly turn these tags which you've prepared earlier into a finished piece ready to pop into your journal, and you can theme them to pretty much anything. So if you're doing butterflies, obviously if you're doing a boho journal and you wanted bright colours, you would create your tags with maybe some coloured stamping or use a coloured ink with the stencil. You might pick a different a book page and some bright coloured paper to start with, but I'm hoping this just gives you a basic place to start, and then hopefully you'll be able to regain your mojo, build your stash, or if you're just beginning, hopefully it'll give you some guidance into how you can create some tags for your journal. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.